Carm Capriato, the Service Aftermarkets podcast pioneer with the gold standard of aftermarket business podcasts. Join me for Aftermarket Insights as we advance the aftermarket. And as always, know that you'll learn just one thing. Find us on your favorite podcast listening app and RemarkableResults.biz or on my YouTube channel. Hey everybody, Carm Capriato, Remarkable Results Radio. So glad to have you here. If it wasn't for you and your support of listening and or watching our podcast on our YouTube channel, the Carm Capriato YouTube channel, we wouldn't be here. And so we strive so hard to bring you all incredible content. And today's episode is going to be great. You're going to love it. We talk about leadership all the time, but we're going to kind of dive in, get underneath the covers. Hey, important. We know a lot of people, in fact, even personally, have been affected by breast cancer. But did you know that our aftermarket service repair industry has an initiative started by two shop owners out of Cleveland? It's called Breaks for Breasts, which so far has raised $1.8 million for a vaccine for triple-negative breast cancer. It's in clinical trials round 2, and 100% of every penny donated goes directly for research at the Cleveland Clinic. So we need your help. October of every year is Breaks for Breasts months, breaksforbreasts.com. Please, we need your support and your help. Hey, thanks for being here at this great Town Hall Academy. Did you know that NAPA Tracks has on-site training plus 6 days a week support? Well, it all starts when a local representative meets with you to learn about your business and how you run it. After all, it's your shop, so it's your choice. Let us prove to you that Trax is the single best shop management system in the business. Find NAPA Trax on the web at NAPATRACS.com. And AutoFix Auto Shop Coaching will help your shop go from surviving to thriving, from financial insights to operational excellence. Make your shop into a well-oiled machine. Talk to Chris at AutoShopCoaching.com. And hey, are you ready to optimize training with today's class? In just 5 minutes daily, boost knowledge, retention, and improve team performance. A great company, great product. Start seeing results today. Join your peers at todaysclass.com. Let me introduce my panel to you. Guess who's here? Dave Schedin, Coach Dave Schedin. Hi, Dave.
Hi, so great to be here, Carm. And, that's a great thing for shops to be in that contribution to start in contribution of creating a solution in society that needs her. So I love that.
Honest to God, we survived it in our family. So yeah, I get it. Wow. Interesting. We all know somebody. Dave is with CompuTrek Automotive Management Systems, a business coach, been a great contributor to the podcast. And Dave's been scratching at my ear and he says, Krystal Zellmer needs to be on the show, and she needs to be on with me because I love Krystal. And so they're here, and we're going to talk about leadership and personal development. But Krystal's here, VP at Klemmer. Klemmer is a leadership and character development company. She's the co-owner of Klemmer, and she's the daughter of the founder. She is a transformational facilitator in experiential leadership training and currently facilitates at multiple levels of all organizations. Good to have you here, Krystal.
Great to be here, Carm. I'm super excited to be with you guys today.
Thank you so much. So look at topic leadership and personal development. There's so much to talk about. Hopefully we can get it done in a time frame that everyone that's in the listening audience is going to appreciate it. So we're going to talk about people and coaching and the impact and how it all comes together. But Dave, I do want to start with you. You brought me this topic, and I know you're actually in the Northwest working with a family in a wonderful family business that is looking at succession. And part of making it work is that, my kids are going to be natural business people. They're going to come right in, and this is going to happen. And all of a sudden, a couple of years down the road, it says, what happened? Because of that level of leadership that we have to have. I go back to John Maxwell, the first book I ever read of his in 1998, Krystal, Leadership is Influence, Nothing More, Nothing Less. And when you think about the things you do and the things that you say have influence on everyone around you, and especially if you're the leader. So Dave, start us off, my friend.
Carmel, I'll start off with a testimony of what leadership and personal development can do. And from a place of personal experience, and I've shared this on other podcasts than that, but in 2010, some life choices came in front of me and life in a sense blew up. And I'd found that the choices I was making weren't working. And at that point in 2010, I'd been coaching automotive business coaching for about 4 years. My average client was gaining 204 grand of new GP dollars in 12 months. So significant change, a lot of change in a short amount of time. And some of the choices I made inside were around a little bit of some arrogancy. And I was pretty proud of that 204 grand. Then my life blows up. 20-and-a-half-year marriage and family, it's poof, it's gone. And I found that things that were happening in me weren't working. And it was a leadership issue of leading myself. Only problem is I didn't know what was actually leading myself. And through this journey, long story short, I put myself through Krystal's company, Klemmer and Associates, and I went through the whole process. And I went back and staffed. The cool thing is when you go once, you get to go back for free for life. And Dave needs a lot of work and slow learner. Personal master, I've been through 18 of them. Every time I go, I'm different. And so I see things deeper that I get to work on. I go through that. 18 months later, all of a sudden, my clients are gaining $340,000 of new GP dollars in 12 months. The same material. I didn't add anything new. The same material.
And was it a new Dave?
It was a new Dave. And the question I ask is, well, who changed? Well, I did. Same clients. I had clients in Canada. I had clients in, east, west, north, south. It didn't matter who it was. They got better results because I got out of the way. I got my stinking thinking out of the way. I didn't know was there. And that's the power of leadership and personal development. It brings clarity to what you're supposed to lead in yourself first and then other people.
Did you become more confident of the things that you were asking your clients to do? And then I think to your point, then getting out of the way instead of having to, let me tell you, you got to have screws and nuts and bolts and pliers and screwdriver, and you had to show them instead of tell them.
It's the proverbial, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And so I was great at mechanism coaching and dabbled very little in the emotional intelligence meant to use them. And a lot of things that I coach on are the customer interface, value, words, and reasonings. And that's one of the main things that value, words, and reasonings do when you elevate your ability to enroll, to encourage or create value for whatever it is your company is selling. When you do that, you shift some things inside. One of the things that happens is people have to do this thing that it's called charge more for what they should be charging. And they're afraid of the customer. And how do they get over that fear? And they don't even know they have that fear. Here's a term in the automotive industry that is 100% pure fear-based, but it sounds so logical. Well, I have to be fair market value. Really? What's your fair market value? The cheapest guy in town? You got to make sure you never get a no is also a fear-based mindset. So in that realm of, I discovered there were fears running in me, and I discovered them when I was an advisor and service manager in a dealership, then have my own independent shop for 9 years. Even knowing the fear of the customer and working through that process, when I became a coach, I got to see that fear at a different level in a different way. It wasn't no longer a fear of the customer. At some level, there was fear holding my life back and how I was coaching people. And how do we know there was there? 204,000 to 340 grand,
But Dave, did anyone learn something from you as you were going through your transformation? And you were, again, Krystal, people are the foundation of a successful business. Dave's dealing with people. They're trying to get them to take that to their people. Help me understand. I want to be a better leader, but how do I, maybe it's not how do I do it, but how do I get my people to, walk behind me?
That's a great question. And for the volume of people enrolled in leadership and personal development, I'm handing that over to Krystal because she is this great person that enables somebody to see what it is, the power of personal development. So I'll let Krystal take it from there.
Yeah, I think the real question that it comes down to me is, how do you enroll somebody in the value of working on themselves? And I find that there is a ton of resistance when people initially hear about leadership and character development, because I think a lot of people hear that through a belief system of somebody thinks there's something wrong with me. And if I admit there's something that gets to shift or gets to change, then I'm less than, ego gets involved, and all of those things. versus when we can really pivot the conversation, especially because it sounds like we're talking about not just the owners of shops being in the conversation, but really enrolling the people who work with them and for them to be in the conversation. Hey, you don't need to do anything different. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing out about you. I don't believe that there's such a thing as a broken person. That's not what it's about. But you deserve the opportunity to look at what's running you on automatic so that you don't feel victim to belief systems you don't even know you have.
Wow,
and when
that's
that
powerful
pivot can change, now people are engaged in, hey, you don't think, because how many times as an employer do we look at somebody and we just see things that get to shift? But when you're looking person to person and what they hear is critique, and they hear, like, a lot of people are just sensitive to that kind of stuff. So if we can actually flip the conversation of, hey, you deserve something different than you're experiencing right now. Yeah. Is it going to benefit the company? Absolutely. But you're going to benefit across your life. Your relationships are going to be better and healthier. Your homes are going to be better and healthier. Your finances are going to be better and healthier. And when all of those things get better, you're going to have more energy to invest in the company you're working with, and you're going to have more loyalty to it because you're living a more abundant life across the board.
I got to jump in here because I'm listening so intently. And you said you're running on automatic. And you know what hit me, Krystal? Maybe we got to shift. We got to go out and get a different car person. Think of car person.
Yeah.
And get a manual shift car, Dave.
So
instead
good.
of being on automatic.
That's a great analogy. And that's really the heart of what true personal development, character development, and leading yourself is, that you're now in charge of what gear you're in. And you're not running on autopilot from something that happened when you were 3, 5, 12, 15. You know, it's funny. I joke all the time that, you know, when we have an emotional experience at a young age that was of a damaging nature, we tend to protect ourselves emotionally, and we so protect ourselves that area doesn't grow. And we're at some level we're dealing with our inner child. And I'm realizing that currently the inner child I'm dealing with, he be in junior high. And so I'm dealing with, you know, things come up. It's like, man, that was junior high. That was so junior high-ish. And I go, and I didn't even try to do it. It just came out, you know, and it's that life journey.
I think we got a gold nugget here. The gold nugget is nothing's working for me. They don't stop to think that they're on automatic or autopilot, right, Krystal?
Yeah.
And if they could, even if the word shift gears helps someone realize that I've got to get out of the mode that I'm in.
Totally.
And that shifting gears in my mind says, I need leadership coaching. I need EQ training. I've got to slow down a minute. I've got to learn to love my people. I've got to learn to love myself and my family. It's like this whole episode could be, even though it's leadership and personal development, we want people to shift into a new thing.
Yes. And how many times do people find themselves running? They're on the freeway in first and it's not working, except for, well, and forgive my lack of car knowledge, but isn't that a transmission issue, right? Like when you just won't shift, is that transmission?
Yes.
Yeah. And you're going and you're running into this same roadblock over and over again. Yeah. And the reality is, when you take a personal development course, when you can really pivot like that, now you come back into exactly what you were talking about, Carm, and you go, oh, wait, I know how to shift this. And you can pull yourself into the gear you need to be in order to fly down the freeway. Okay.
So Krystal, help me understand. I think of the word situational right now. And I think that I have these 4 or 5 gears in front of me.
Yeah.
And depending on, if you will, experiential leadership, right? The experience that you have. Yeah. So here it is. I've got these 4 gears. Well, guess what? I don't have to go 1, 2, 3, or 4, because in this particular situation, all my training, all my learning, all my quality, emotional self-assurance says this is a gear 3 situation.
Yes. And you don't have to go through the different pivots. And what gets you great results in one area isn't necessarily going to in another area, and you can pivot back and forth. And we suggest all the time in every training we're at, 99% of the decisions you think you're not making. 99% of the time, you're completely and utterly out of control. There is a belief system running in your heart. It's not conscious, but there's a belief system running in your heart that's showing up on automatic, and you're off and running before you even recognize it's happening. So the majority, why we say we're experiential leadership, is how-to training is great. It's awesome. It's just that most people don't do what they're told. And in order to get that head to heart shift, you get to have an experience or enough repetition to do something different on automatic. Repetition takes a really long time. Experiential learning happens in an instant. So like if you're told your whole life to wear your seatbelt, but you're maybe a little rebellious and don't do it, but you have a friend that gets in a car accident. Oh, look at my thumb goes up. If you have a friend that gets in a car accident, you wear your seatbelt right here, right now, forevermore. You had an experience of the damage that can come from not doing it. So that's the basis of what we do, is to give you experiences in a training room so that you're not paying the high price life cost to have the same lesson to discover those belief systems. So because it costs you clients, it costs you employees,
Yes.
it costs you time, it costs you energy, it costs you all that stuff to discover those belief systems in real time. But if you can do it in a training room, now you get the same lesson, and the tuition is a lot lower than life charges.
Okay. I got to break in here. I promised you I would sit on the sidelines,
No,
but
I talk
and
fast.
just
Interrupt
listen
me.
to
It's
you
good.
guys. But what I'm taking away from this is I had such a great day. It was a good day. Things worked. How do I learn from that experience? How do I bring my intuition, my being there, my collective review of the day, and bring it in to be a better leader by learning from what just happened? I'm not sure what just happened, but something just happened, and it's great.
I think as you're part of the journey and opening the door to leadership, personal and character development, is you have self-awareness. And you said a word like 3 to 5 times in that last, discovery, and I call it vitamin B. My beingness. How can I be? And when we are aware of how we show up and our state of being, and what are we bringing into the environment at work, the relationship with the employee, the vendor, the customer, what's our state of being? As I do enhanced job descriptions that have character traits and behavioral traits built into them, one of the number one job duties and responsibilities of anybody in any company anywhere, not just automotive, is your number one responsibility is your state of being. Tried and true, proven, you are aware of things. Just awareness alone can transform some people.
Yeah.
Just awareness alone can lead them to the breakthrough that they've been looking for, because now they're aware. And when you are aware, it's amazing. When a customer with a car doesn't realize something on their vehicle, but you make them aware, they go, oh, okay, well, we better take care of that. All of a sudden, they want to take care of it. The same thing with us. Our vehicle, called this convenient carrying case that we come in, is that when we're aware of something that's happening, tangible and intangible inside of us, we take care of it. We have, I'm Dave 64.0, and I'm discovering that my muscles are a little bit different than they were at Dave 20.0. And so I'm discovering that I need electrolytes. And if I don't have a good balance of that, but as soon as I'm aware of it, I know right what to do. I pay attention to that. And dialing in, and I come back to the word enrolling. We really need to make sure that we are enrolling ourselves, that we want to play that level 10 big game. And the only way that we're really going to make sure that we're going to play a big game is we know our state of being. We know where we're at. The work that the journey through, again, I'll call it the Klemmer journey because I've been through all the workshops. Everything built upon everything else. They're distinct, unique workshops. They are connected, but they're their own unique value. But there's a theme that runs through it. And one of the themes that runs through it is an expression of, do you do something first so you can be happy? Or do you have something so you can do something and then you can be? And what order is that? And coming to a place of understanding that best practice is the be, do, have. It's nothing wrong with do, have, be. There's nothing wrong with have, do, be. In light of what you want to produce in life, though, there may be an issue with it. But there's nothing wrong with it. Don't make it, bad or wrong in your life. And so in that, there is a theme all the way through, and it's one of the main premises of one of the core takeaways, practical, intangible. Notice I said practical, intangible applications of the work is the formula of champions. And you want to dig deep into that, come to the workshop, because you're up and out of your chair and you get to experience it firsthand at a level you can't get anywhere else. If you want a doorway to knock on the door of that formula of champions, Krystal's book, Life by Intention, is phenomenal. And by the way, I don't know what happened when I listened to your book, but my car goes 90 miles an hour. So my truck, I get excited about that kind of a topic with it.
Wow.
It's just very powerful.
How many times have we told the state trooper, listen, it was all about Krystal?
Yeah, I said, I got her address. I'm going to send her the ticket.
And then we go right back to personal responsibility. Isn't that it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I can't do that because of the other things.
Hey, let's face it. Your shop management system is the single most important tool in your shop, period. NAPA Trax has made selecting the right shop management system easy by offering the industry's best, most comprehensive SMS. Now, it all starts when a local representative meets with you to learn about your business and how you need to run it. After all, it's your shop, so it's your choice, and having local representation is a huge plus. Customizing Trax to your business, whether you're a one-person shop or a large multi-bay or multi-location company, a representative consults with you to help optimize your shop's workflow, efficiency, and profitability. Trax always has the flexibility to do business how you need to do it, which means it can also grow as your business grows. And unlike the other guys, will be there for you after installation with the best training and support in the business. Yes, a learning management system tailored to each role in your company. Simply put, Trax was designed and built for shop owners just like you. Visit us on the web at NAPA Trax, that's NAPATRACS.com. In the world of auto repair, every shop has its unique rhythm and challenges. At AutoFix Auto Shop Coaching, they understand that one size does not fit all. That's why we offer personalized business coaching, tailoring our advice to meet your shop's specific needs. Transform your operations with strategies and tools to streamline your workflow, reduce waste, and skyrocket productivity. And when it comes to the numbers, we've got you covered. Our financial management guidance helps you master your finances from cash flow to profit margins, ensuring your revenue grows stronger. Every day, AutoFix Auto Shop Coaching, empowering your shop to achieve more. Visit us at autoshopcoaching.com. Transform your team with today's class, where automotive training is easy, quick, and fun. Just 5 minutes a day on our app can eliminate hours of looking up forgotten information later. It's perfect for technicians, advisors, and managers alike. Keep critical knowledge fresh and top of mind, ensuring your team operates at peak efficiency. Today's class is impactful, accessible from anywhere, and a bit of fun too, and we're not talking about after-hours pizza either. For training that gets results, turn to todaysclass.com.
I hear all this talk about leadership, and that was really the premise of one of the contexts of what I'm talking about is I hear this thing, leadership. But then what it's left out is the personal development, the character development. It's not really, they talk lightly about it, but they talk about leaders in that. And so Krystal's been through so much in her life. My first experience with Krystal, I went back and staffed one of the workshops. Cool workshop, because when you get done, you get a samurai sword. Totally cool. Don't take it on your carry-on, I'm just saying. Yeah. But I'm in this workshop and I'm staffing, and there's leadership and personal development modules that you can only get when you go back and staff. I went back for free. And here's this 18, 19-year-old, 20-year-old, very young, and she's having the staff do a closed-eye experience, holding hands, being quiet, and we have to produce a result. And we are failing. And I'm paying attention to, because it's on my radar as a former, black belt, 7th level codependencer. I'm looking, is she going to rescue? Here's a 20-year-old that's not rescuing. She believed in us to make that happen.
You're talking about Krystal?
Yeah.
That was me.
Yeah. She leads this module. It's my first experience of her. She's leading this module. And I was just amazed at her journey already on that. But anyway, I want to come back to, why is it leadership and personal development or character development? So I don't know, Krystal, if you could shed some light, why are those partnered so well together?
Yeah. On both sides, it was fascinating. You started to talk about leadership and how many times I get to speak with people that don't see themselves as leaders. I don't know what the belief system is that's running for them, that they don't see themselves. Maybe they don't see themselves as capable or influential or whatever the thing is. But that's a piece, because everyone's a leader. And you mentioned John Maxwell earlier in the episode, Carm. I think he says even an introvert will lead over 10,000 people in their lifetime, will influence over 10,000 people in their lifetime. So when we look at our teams, allowing them to embrace the fact that they are leaders, and leadership is not, it doesn't look one way. And I think a lot of times people get stuck in the fact that leadership looks like loud, or leadership looks like dominance, or leadership. And that's, to me, not leadership at all. Some of the strongest leaders I know are people that are incredible listeners, or caring, or are great at the interpersonal stuff. So that's one side of it. The other side is, in order to be an effective leader at whatever capacity you choose leadership, you get to be able to lead yourself. And in order to lead yourself, you get to be personally developed and self-aware in such a way that you're not operating on automatic, and that you can come back and make really sound choices, even if those choices aren't what you would have done naturally. That's where personal development comes into play. So how many times I've seen somebody react to a client because their insides are upset. They can't hear straight. They can't see straight. They can't think straight, because internally there's incongruency happening. And if you can be personally developed in such a way, then when somebody comes at you, a client has an issue or something goes awry with an employee or whatever that piece is, you're not operating from your internal incongruency, but you're actually making really conscious, sound choices about what the best thing is for that person. Because it's really hard to, Brian Klemmer, my dad, used to say all the time, it's really hard to meet other people's needs when you're knee deep in your own needs. And personal development helps us clean out all of the needs of our own that get in the way of really healthy leadership and healthy communication.
I love it. But really good stuff. Thank you. So how do we coach our people for a better performance, Krystal?
I mean, so much. Coaching your people for better performance, I think first off, is taking a really great assessment of what your person that you're coaching wants, more, better, or different in their world. And if you can tie whatever it is you want to see shift to what it is they want to see shift, now you have maximum impact. So if you have somebody who you're working with as an employee in your business, you're noticing that there is some client services issues and some interpersonal things that aren't working, having a conversation with them in such a way that you can find out, what is it that's important to them? What do they value? What do they want more of in their life? And sometimes they're going to tell you, I want better relationships, which directly relates. And sometimes they're going to tell you, hey, I want to make more money. Great. A way to make more money is to interface better with the clients. And that's actually going to increase your income. Now they're bought into being coached in the first place. And if you can get their buy-in, now you can actually influence and lead people.
That's huge.
For me, that if you really want to coach your people to top performance, you get to get really invested in what's in it for them.
You know, as I look at the enrollment process of getting somebody to enroll in their own personal development, I run across the struggle of them so lost, they don't know what they want. To find the benefit, enroll them for a win for them, but they're like, I don't know what I want. I don't know if I want to make more money. I'm comfortable. They settle. You know what? This works for me. You know what? I'm comfortable in my language with the customer. It works for me. I'm comfortable at 2.2 hours per period or language and volume. I'm comfortable. That way I'm not going to oversell the customer, and I can live peacefully and know that I'm not overselling. Meanwhile, the car could care less how that advisor feels. The car needs what the car needs. They're communicating from a place of they don't know what they want more of, and they're so committed to a comfort zone that they can't get there. So enrolling in leadership for me has been the challenge of when somebody doesn't know their why, they don't know what they want in life. It's amazing when I see shop owners that elevate to a certain performance level. I did a class in Seattle at ATE Northwest, Sustainable Cash Flow 101. And we're in there talking about GP dollars and gaining profit. And this young man, and now that I'm 64, 40 is a young man. So he's like in his early 40s. Dave, how much money is too much money? I go, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, I make really good money right now. I go, interesting. Usually one person in the room has it, other. And I said, well, how many else in the room have that situation where you feel you're making good money and you don't really need more money? And they said, yeah, because they hadn't run across their need. Their need might have been their purpose. And so, like, I have a class of about 35, probably 70% of the hands went up. So these people were already making good cash flow, but they were there to figure out how to make sustainable cash flow. So they're interested in cash flow, but they just don't know why they want more cash flow. But somehow, I believe their purpose signed them up for the class, walked into the room, and they want to know more about it. So I said, interesting. And I'm going to use Brian Klemmer as a mentor in my life that I was 4 days away from meeting him before he passed. I was going to go to the Heart of the Samurai, and I was at that heart. Krystal, I don't remember that, but it was the first heart he wasn't at. Very powerful. He said something, because I used to have this saying, well, it's not really about the money. I really love what I do. I love transformation coaching. I love business coaching. I love bringing increase to shops. I love a more, better, different in that. And his phrase was, people who say it's not about the money are the most selfish people on this planet. And it hit me. I said, well, you can't take that from me. That's my saying. That makes me look like I'm not the evil rich people that we always hear about, that I love money and I was more about my image. And Brian says, you go down to a third world country, you watch a child die in the street, and tell me it's not about the money. It's not about you and the money. It's what can you do? And then Brian ended his statement, for those of us who are faith-based, he said, you were created in the image of a creator. It's your job to create. And when he said job, it resonated. I got goosebumps. I just got them now too. It's not a job as a work. I got to go laborious. It's a calling. It's a calling to create that abundance to then be in contribution. The reason I went down that path is that how many people, they don't know their why. They don't know and I guess it's a long story short to get here. So Krystal's input is that when you're dealing with somebody who doesn't know their why or doesn't know what they want, how do you enroll that person? What's some things that would serve them well?
Yeah. Comfort is an extremely addicting state. And
you looked at me when you said that because
and we all have different things that we're addicted to our comfort in, right? So I'm not making anybody right or wrong in that. To your point, finding a why to get uncomfortable. What's a big enough need? What's a big enough reason to get uncomfortable? And I think even addressing that's it in the first place. So a lot of us go, well, I'm fine. I'm right here. I make enough to care for the people I love, and I'm fine. And where is your good getting in the way of your spectacular? Like, there's nothing wrong with where you're at. It's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that so many people are having such a successful career in the automotive industry. Like, I think that's an incredible feat. If you're doing this well, how is that potentially getting in the way of whatever you're being called to next? And if there's something that you're settling for good when it could be extraordinary, what's that thing? And is there a reason big enough to get you unstuck to that next level?
So interesting, Dave. I got to jump in here for both of you. I'm hearing this thing called comfort, and the people that were in your class say, "Hey, I'm fine." And if you took a deep dive into their profit and loss statement, they may be at the 3% net operating income because they're not there to build wealth. They're just there to bring X amount home and be fine. But how many people really think beyond the struggle of being an owner, the struggle of running a business, and think about retirement and think about college and think about all the things that they have to think about as the leader, not only for themselves, but for their people. And I think that's a big revelation that's going on in our industry today, is the amount of people that are in coaching will be the first ones to say, I fought it for years and now I'm in, and I'm so happy that I did. So think about that. Think about the shift that our industry is taking with coaching. And now think about the shift that we need to do for leadership. And the intimacy, and I'm using that word loosely, with our people, Krystal. We got to get to know them better. We got to understand what they want. And if we could realize, well, they want to buy a home, he wants to get a motorcycle, they'd love to have a cabin at the lake. And can I pay these people enough to do this? And then, coach, listen, this is what I got to do, not only for me, but for my people. And it all, so the leadership piece is you're literally in charge of not only your world, but their world, because they're with you. Do you feel that they're with you? Do you know why they're with you?
And to have a committed group of people running together towards a common mission, because they all know what the big picture is and they all know what's in it for them. That is a liberating, exciting place to play. Because all of those initial struggles you talked about in terms of ownership and the heaviness and the weight and all that, when your people are all on board because they want to see you win and they want to win too, like, that's a legacy brand. That's a whole different opportunity.
Krystal, tell me about a leadership breakthrough that an individual who is the owner, or I'm a director in a company, I'm a mid-level someone, but I want to be a better leader. Leadership breakthroughs. Every once in a while, you have these, oh my God, moments. Share us some ideas of how people that groom themselves to be better leaders. I see my screen is frozen, but you can hear me, right?
I can hear you.
Explain these moments. What should we be looking for when we stop to realize that I'm growing as a leader?
Like how to acknowledge yourself when you're doing something well, or potentially we call them ahas and okakas. Ahas are like yes, I'm doing that really, really well. Aha, that's great. And okakas is like, oh, caca, I did not realize that I was doing that. That is not something I want to continue to repeat. So are you talking about both sides? Or?
Yeah, and paying attention to those moments and learning from them.
Yeah. So we have a analogy that we use often that describes sunglasses as subconscious belief systems that you're viewing your world through that you don't realize exist. And they change the way you see things. They change the way you see opportunities. They change the way you see challenges. They change the way you see everything based on these subconscious belief systems that we view as sunglasses. You can't tell somebody what sunglasses they're wearing, which is a huge bummer, because it would be a lot easier if we could just go around and say, well, that's your biggest issue in leadership, and that's your talent. If we could just tell other people, wouldn't that be great? And most of the time, if I tell you a set of sunglasses you're wearing that you have no idea exists, you'll just fight me about it. You'll argue. I could say you could double the size of your company this year, and you'll tell me, no, not me, not in the size town I live in. That couldn't be me. We'll just argue. Versus if you go on a hunt for what the belief system is that you're wearing that's residing in your heart, you have a self-discovery, you take that off, all of a sudden you have a revelation, you see things different than you saw a moment before. Yes. That is powerful stuff. You want large change in a short period of time. The way to do it is by having revelations of belief systems you hold in your heart that are in your operating system that are causing you to run on automatic. The way to do that is to notice your feelings and notice your behaviors, and then work backwards at what would the thinking be that would drive that thing. So for instance, if I'm in the leadership seat, which is the original question you asked, and I'm looking at my day and I'm going, okay, what did I do really well? So I would notice my feelings and I would notice my behaviors. I would go, okay, I was most at peace when I was working with my hands, when I was training people, and when I was hands on a machine. Okay. Mm-hmm. So working my way backwards, what would the thinking be that drove that thing? Okay. Well, the potential thinking could be that I'm great. I'm a great trainer. Okay. Well, if you have a belief system in your heart that you're a great trainer, then everything you do in training is going to be great, because you believe that that's true. That's your operating system. So now you can find different places that you can put that into play. How can I train more people? It's a great leadership thing. Well, if you find that your feelings and your behaviors were that you were avoiding a difficult conversation that had to happen, right? You were nervous and you were anxious and you were maybe even angry. You got yourself all worked up. I don't know if anybody else on this listening has ever gotten themselves worked up over a fake conversation you made up in your head before it even happened. But if you're in that process, okay, so now I work backwards and I go, okay, well, I know the feeling and I know the behavior. What's the thinking that's driving that? Oh, I have a belief system that I'm going to be in trouble. Well, if you have a belief system somewhere in your subconscious that you're going to get in trouble and you're the business owner, guess what? You're going to be walking around on eggshells with your people and with your clients because your dominant belief system in your heart, or as we call them, your set of sunglasses, is operating that everywhere you turn, if somebody's upset, you're in trouble. That will ruin your business. If you can pluck that thing, if you could have that one revelation, all of a sudden you go, oh, conflict does not mean I'm in trouble. Now you can have grounded, honest, responsible, open communication with other people. Even though you might get a little tense inside, you can check yourself that that's not necessarily reality. It's just how you operate on automatic. And you've got, that's one example. You've got sets of sunglasses like need to be right, or that's impossible. I can't do that. Or life is hard. It's exhausting. All of those things are operating on automatic. You have hundreds of thousands of sets of sunglasses that are operating all the time without you even recognizing they exist. The powerful part of leadership is being able to surface those, bring them from the subconscious up to the conscious so that you can make choice around them instead of them running on automatic.
I love this. This is just what I'm looking for. I mean, I think this last 5 or 8 minutes, it just nails the CEOs that we have in our company, Dave, and the whole sunglass thing. Take off the damn sunglasses and stop, if you will, kind of hiding behind the inadequacies or the things that you're not comfortable with.
Yeah.
That you know you have to deal with because you're the man or the lady. You've got to do that. So give me more on this stuff. I'm eating this up.
And this is the majority of what we do. And I can give you lots of examples of different belief systems that run at a heart level. The cool part is because some of these people are going to go, oh, that's me. That totally nailed me. And some of them you're going to go, that doesn't relate to me at all. The most powerful form of this, because the rest of your life, whether you decide to come to a training or not, I hope you do. But if you don't, the rest of your life can be a training by going and discovering your own belief systems on noticing your feelings and noticing your behaviors and being willing to self-evaluate that. So one of my deepest sets of sunglasses that I talk about really openly is that I'm not enough. Like, I don't do enough. I'm not enough personally. I'll never be enough. And that belief system is systemic for scarcity because I will always feel like there's not enough of something if I'm not enough. Not enough time, not enough money, not enough energy, not enough. There's just not enough. If you looked at my calendar, you would think I was nuts for even thinking that in the first place because there's no evidence for that belief system. But there's something internally within me that, you're raising your hand.
But you're a doer.
Yeah.
Is there a little conflict there?
Always.
I mean, or can you as an individual who has some doubts stop and look at that calendar and says, no, I think I'm okay. Can you pick yourself up by stepping back? Because
I've had the awareness, I can look at it from a very logical, objective, that's a great word, point of view. And I can go, I know I'm operating in an unhealthy belief system right now for me because I'm allowing myself to filter everything I think, do, and say through I'm not enough. That has nothing to do with the people around me. That has to do with me internally being off balance. Mm-hmm. Now, because I've had the awareness, I can look at the calendar and go, that's just a story that I'm telling myself that's not true. And I can rearrange it to bring it back into, and I get to replace it. Because sunglasses by themselves, you can't just take them off. They work a lot like addiction. A void will not remain a void. So if I take off a set of sunglasses of I'm not enough, I get to replace it with something that does serve and support me. So I am more than enough. That belief allows me to hold myself differently in conversations than I would if I continue to operate in this belief system of I'm not enough.
There's a phrase that's change your brain, change your life. And the brain is not necessary as we look at when we hear brain, we hear logical. The left brain typically is the persona of brain, even though your heart, at one aspect, it's not in the same cavity in our convenient carrying case. The subconscious part of the brain, it actually runs at 6 times a millisecond. The logical brain runs at 5 times a millisecond. The right side of your brain, the creative side, the relationship side, it's 20% faster. But when we're stuck because a program's running, we run to the logical, I need a mechanism to get out of this junk caca moment I just put myself in. I need a mechanism to ramp up out of that. And we try to white knuckle through things. And Brian Klemmer said something. He said, the number one drug of choice on this planet, it's not drug, alcohol, sex, all that stuff. It's comfort zone. And the issue with comfort zone is many of us, we are addicted to something because it's familiar, it's comfortable, even though it's painful in our life. And so because we have this dichotomy of a kind of a vicious circle, we keep going around, around, around. Well, I don't like the pain, but I can't get out of the pain. And what happens then, until you stop the cycle, until you do something different, believe something different, put yourself in a different experience, and dare I say, you have somebody help speak into your life that's not emotionally attached to your programs, which is what I loved about the personal development journey. I met people and had 5, 10, 15-minute conversations with them, and I felt like I knew them their whole life. And guess what? I didn't know what they did. Most of the time we meet somebody, well, what do you do? What do you do? We try to judge somebody by what they do. I get to experience people at a beingness level, and it's different. And that was one of the other shifts. As I went back into the coaching arena and shop owners, I was be here, be now, be present. I got to hear that person. I got to hear and see some things that maybe they didn't see. It's kind of like this. At one point, I was seeing their blind spots, and everybody in the planet has blind spots. I don't, because I never see them. Therefore, I must not have them, right? At one point, I wanted to change my company name to Blind Spot Coaching with a tagline. Bet you didn't see that coming. But surround yourself with people that love you enough, that are more mature than you, that have walked a good personal development walk, and they're on a journey of a better version of themselves. Surround yourself with those people. And when you surround yourself with that, you're going to find the abundance of your own personal development is going to lead. They say that if you look at your 5 closest friends, pretty much everybody's bank account is going to be the same. Their thinking's the same, that you've collected yourself. One of the issues that most shop owners have is they hire themselves. They don't hire somebody smarter, better, quicker, faster, somebody that can do something a little bit different than them. They hire themselves. And they're in a rut. Not only they're in a rut, but their people they hired are in a rut. Everybody's engaged at the same level they are, and they're upset at their people, but they hired the same people at the activation level. Now, that may have been a little bit too deep for that moment, but...
Well, you'll hear people say, well, that's just who I am.
Yeah.
Is it though? Because I don't think that's who you are, and then people put these caps on themselves and what they're capable of, or what they're going to shift, or what they're not going to shift. And whatever somebody tells me, that's just who I am. All that tells me is that's who you're committed to being right now. And you can either be committed to being that person, or you can be committed to change. And Brian Klemmer used to say all the time, do you hate losing enough to change, or do you hate changing enough to lose?
Powerful. It's a huge golden nugget. That's just who I am. Don't you just want to hit him in the head?
I want to give him a big hug, but same thing.
Oh, okay. Let me give you a big hug and whisper in your ear, you're wrong.
That's what I love about the journey, because in this journey, it's not the barking at somebody that allows the change. It's the kindness that leads to a shift and change. It's the kindness, not to bring a religious word, but we kind of repent of what we're doing, shift a different way. We do that because of kindness. And the actual word repent, Repent is like penthouse. It's high, and it has a meaning of higher thinking. So we repent, we rethink, we renew what we're doing, and we shift to a higher thinking with the lines of, as we think in our hearts, so are we. And Brian used to say, don't you think with your head? You don't think with your heart, but you do. You think with that heart level. And that's really, okay, Shiny Ball Day went down a hole, and I don't remember why I went down that hole, but
well, I think because of grace.
Yes. Yeah.
But that's you, Dave. You love to go down rabbit holes.
I do. It's funny in life transition that I'm finding that growing up with dyslexia and ADD, HD, and all of that in the brain has really was a hindrance. Is now, because of personal development, I can now harness the skill set I had to learn to understand a word, a place, and person or situation. I had to look at it from like 7 different viewpoints. And now when I coach, when I see numbers, I see thinking behaviors that affect that. Yeah. I want to kind of bring it back to the really the context of this call is, how does a shop integrate leadership and personal development? How do I enroll my people when I've never done any of this stuff before? What are some things how do I just knock on the door with my people? How do I start the conversation, let alone deeper conversations we kind of got into, but how do I open that door?
From my perspective, I think it's making leadership and character development or personal development more accessible and less airy-fairy. Yeah, I think sometimes people they just jump all the way into the deep end, and the deep end's great. And there are lots of people that are walking their feet in and deciding for themselves whether or not they actually want something different. So I think there's lots of different ways to integrate leadership and personal development, and maybe just taking one chunk at a time in a team meeting. And if team meetings are normal for your industry, and just going, hey, we want to implement something that we think is going to benefit across the board. Let's take this on one bite at a time, right? There's a book that Brian Klemmer wrote called Eating the Elephant One Bite at a Time, which is just like structurally 52 weeks of leadership lessons. And I think once people begin to get their feet wet of like, oh, there's nothing wrong with me. There doesn't need to be anything wrong with me in order for me to change. And that first level of going, oh, now there's non-resistance. And that is a beautiful place to be, because if you can both be looking at something from the same direction and you're not fighting about it, then you can start to integrate it and go, okay, those are for the people who want like incremental growth. Books, great. All of that is great to get some incremental growth. Podcasts like this, phenomenal. You're going to be in the thing every single week, working together to listen to something like this. That is going to enhance your business. And then if you want to take a bigger leap, you potentially look at something like doing a training like we offer and going, that's where exponential growth happens in a very short period of time.
I have to tell you, what a great way to end it, Krystal. Thank you so much, Dave. Thanks for bringing this topic. And Krystal here, Krystal Zellmer, VP at Klemmer. Klemmer's a leadership and character development company. Do you do a personal coaching, Krystal, too?
I don't, because I really believe that what we specialize in is live experience. I'm fanatical about it. Live experiential training. So and everybody on my team's fantastic. And
this is great. The golden nuggets that fell out of here, I can't count. I sure appreciate it. Sorry for the freezing camera. Something going on with my system. Dave Schedin, CompuTrek Automotive Management Systems business coach and a great friend of the podcast, comes on and brings us all kinds of great topics. So I thank you both for this and appreciate you being here.
Yeah, great to be here, Carm. Thanks for having me.